Hello and welcome to Yoga for Inflexible Active Adults Over the Age of 40. My name is Heather, and this is a 5-part series that I've put together for those of you who are over the age of 40. You're working hard to build a strong, healthy body that's going to carry you well into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. This is for those of you who are interested in learning a little bit more about yoga. Maybe you've taken a yoga class. You're kind of just like, oh, maybe this is something I want to add into my fitness routine, my wellness routine. Maybe you're somebody who you've just never tried yoga before, and you don't really know what to expect. Maybe you're a little bit intimidated about going to a yoga studio, don't really know what the lingo is, how things work, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're somebody who is also over the age of 40 and maybe you got out of your normal regular fitness routine and you want to get back into it. And I really think that yoga is something that can really jumpstart or kickstart like a wellness comeback, a fitness comeback, a weight loss journey. It certainly did that for me. I've been practicing yoga for 16 years, but yoga is really what got me back into shape. And there's so much more that goes into getting back into shape, but yoga was really sort of that catalyst for that. It helped me to just really pay more attention to my eating, being more mindful about my eating, being more present in the moment, calming the F down over stupid stuff, and then just moving my body every single day in a way that just feels good for me. So if you're somebody who falls into one of those camps, this is for you. This is a 5-part series where we're going to go through some of the basic foundations of yoga. We're going to go over some different yoga poses, some of the language that you're going to hear. We'll go over just what to wear. What are all these props? What do all these things do? What do I got to buy? Do I got to buy these things? Do I really need them? All that kind of stuff. We're going to go over all of that. And then we're going to go over some foundational yoga poses, different poses that you will more than likely see in what's called a vinyasa flow style class. So oftentimes when you go to a gym and take yoga, maybe your CrossFit gym offers yoga, maybe your jiu-jitsu gym offers yoga, maybe your climbing gym offers yoga, or you're just, local big box gym. Many of those facilities offer some sort of yoga class. Or if you go to a yoga studio, that's where you might get into some more specialized types of yoga. So what I would like to do is give you just some different pose tutorials, maybe not really necessarily like a full pose tutorial, but just what is this pose? How do you get into it? What are some different options that you might do for your body based on your unique anatomy? Do you have injuries that you're working with? Do you have arthritis? Is your knee sore today? All that kind of stuff. So I'll offer up a different, what the pose is, but then just offering up a couple different ways that you might do it. Okay. So I do have a handout that is available for you. I've got it here on my tablet. So if you see me looking at my notes, that's what that is. You can grab this document. It's a PDF document that's got a plan for the 5 sessions, got different links for you, all sorts of goodies for you. You can go to inflexible.yogabyheather.com. And I call it this because oftentimes when I meet people and they're like, you're super fit, you're in shape, what do you do? And I am somebody who I do both weightlifting and I do yoga. And then when I say that, the first thing I usually hear is, well, I want to do yoga, but I'm not flexible, which, that's like saying you don't go to the gym because you're not in shape. You don't go to CrossFit because you're not in shape. You do these things to get in shape and then to stay in shape, right? Same applies with yoga. There's so much more to yoga than just flexibility and mobility and moving your body. But oftentimes that's what brings people into yoga. That's what brought me to yoga. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Just, sort of my own journey with yoga. But it is something that a lot of people come to yoga looking for more flexibility and mobility work. But just know that there's so much more to yoga. It's essentially a way of living. And we'll talk a little bit about that kind of stuff. So if you want to grab that PDF, it's inflexible.yogabyheather.com, specifically for those of you who are like, I want to do yoga. I've thought about doing yoga, but I'm so inflexible. You don't want to do it. The other thing I'm going to add is maybe you're somebody who you're like a super competitive person. Maybe you are some sort of recreational athlete. You compete in triathlons, marathons, high rocks, whatever. And you're just I'm going to go, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to win, or I'm going to place in my age group or whatever it might be. I really think that yoga is for you as well. Oftentimes I'll hear like, I just can't slow down enough to do yoga. Well, that's kind of the point of yoga, is to just slow it down a little bit here. If you're practicing for 15 minutes, slow it down for 15 minutes. If you go to a class, it's an hour focused on you, the four corners of your mat. All right. So, I want to start with, just what do you need? What do you need to complete this series? So this is a 5-part series. We're not actually going to practice yoga until a yoga class until the 5th part of this series. So in that 5th series, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the different poses that you learn throughout these sessions, and we're going to put them together into a yoga class. So we'll do like a yoga class together. Okay. So, but as you're listening to these videos, watching these videos, you can do the poses alongside me if you'd like. That's okay. Like you might be somebody who maybe you're listening to this while you're walking or driving or, just doing chores around the house. That's fine too. So these first 4 parts are designed that you can listen along. You can maybe listen to them 2-3 times, whatever you need to be, but we're not going to like do a yoga class until we get into that 5th series. So the first 4 parts is just going to get you set up for that yoga class. Okay. So what do you need? So when you go to a yoga class at a studio, at a gym, wherever it might be, many studios will provide mats for you. Some will charge. Some are just like, here's a yoga mat for you. You can purchase yoga mats. I've got on the document here, if you go all the way down to the bottom, I've got links to, it's my, sort of my retail spot on my website. It's not stuff that I sell, but it's stuff that I use and recommend to anybody who is, starting out a yoga practice, or somebody who's like, yeah, I want to spend a little bit of money on this. I'm going to do this, and like, let's spend a little bit of money. If you go scroll down to the last page here, you've got, it's yoga and fitness props. If you just go to shop.yogabyheather.com, that's where I've got links to all sorts of stuff. I've got some yoga mat reviews on my website as well. But no, like if you're just going to go try something out at a gym, at a yoga studio, they probably are going to have mats there that you can use. So if you're just like, I don't know about this just yet, just use what they have. Okay. I will say that there's different mats for different things. That's why I've got yoga mat reviews on my channel, because there's different yoga mats for different needs. Like I'm a person that my hands, palms of my hands, the bottom of my feet, they sweat. Doesn't matter. It could be 60 degrees in the room. If I'm doing yoga, I'm sweating. That's just kind of how I roll, but you might be different. Okay. So, if you go to shop.yogabyheather.com, I've got some links to a couple different yoga mats that I have. I've used them. I've done reviews on them, some of them anyways. I just purchased this one. I'll be doing a review on this one that I'm sitting on here as well. If you don't have a yoga mat and you're going to do this at home, so you're like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try some YouTube videos. Maybe you purchased like something like Yoga Download or something, or even I've got yoga classes available on my website as well, yogabyheather.com. If you're like, I'm just kind of getting into this, I don't want to spend money just yet, you can use a towel. You can do it right on your carpeting if you want, on the floor. Bare floor works just fine. The yoga mat is really there for a couple of different reasons. Some yoga mats have a little bit more grip. It's going to help you just not to slide around. It's maybe a little bit different of a texture for you if you don't like your carpet. The hardwood floor can get hard on your knees. If you're like me, the knees can sometimes be an issue. So having a little bit of cushioning can help with the knees. And then, when I'm teaching yoga, and a lot of yoga instructors do this as well, the point of yoga is really just kind of turn yourself inward, shut out the outside world for 15 minutes, 60 minutes, however long your yoga class is. And the yoga mat itself, the 4 corners of the mat, can kind of symbolize like, this is where I am right now, and practicing mindfulness and being present. It's what's happening in the 4 corners of this mat right now, not what's that person doing over there. Can I do that? And maybe I can do it better than him or her. Or remembering that you got to go stop at the grocery store on the way home, and remembering the email that you got at 4:59 p.m. asking for something. Like it sort of symbolizes what you're doing, that you're just kind of shutting out the outside world. This is your mat. This is your space. Okay. So, and also I'm the kind of person too, like I like the designs. I love it when I'm teaching a yoga class and I can see all the different designs that people have on their mats. It's kind of just, it's like anything. It's just a nice way to, showcase a little bit of your personality. Not that anybody's paying attention. I like to look at it though. So yeah, a yoga mat, a towel, rug, bare floor works just fine. A blanket or a towel. So you can also use blankets and towels for more support. So if you're doing things on your knees, if you're doing things where your hips aren't opening, like I'm sitting right now, allowing my knees to drop open. If you're struggling with allowing your knees to come down and it's kind of a little bit intense on your hips, sometimes just sitting on a blanket can help with that. So, like I've got my blanket right here. So, and it's always a bonus. My great grandmother, knitted this blanket. So it's always a bonus if you get a nice blanket that way. But, they sell yoga mats on Amazon. I think I have some on my shop.yogabyheather.com. So any old beach towel, ratty old shower towel you got around the house is fine too. So what you can do is, just sit on the towel. That elevates your hips a little bit, and can make it a little bit easier to just sit down on the floor. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use, blankets or towels, but that's just one of them. So we'll learn a few more things there as well. Okay. Yoga blocks. So yoga blocks, I've got on the shop page, I've got a couple different videos that I've done here on YouTube, reviewing different types of yoga blocks. I specifically made a video called cork versus foam yoga blocks. You can watch that too. And I do suggest the cork yoga blocks. If you're going to get the foam ones, you want to make sure that they're like not super squishy. Okay. I have some that are super squishy and the squishiness gets in the way sometimes. Sometimes you need that support. You need that firmness. So like these are nice and hard here. Okay. So yoga blocks are helpful to bring the earth up to you. So if you're trying to do a yoga pose and you're just like, like you need a little bit of help, you need a little bit of support, you can use your blocks for support. Same thing here. You can always start seated on your block and you can see how that just elevated my body, allows my hips to drop open even more. So getting a little bit more hip opening here. So this is a nice way to just sit on your living room floor, watch TV, get your computer out, do your things. I like to do this. I actually have one of those lap desks. And what I'll do is I'll sometimes sit on the living room floor, office floor, whatever, and just sit like this on a yoga block and put the computer on the desk and just do my work. Just allows your hips to open up a little bit more. Those of us that sit down all day, you sit down at a desk, you sit down in a car, in an airplane, in a truck, your hips get tight. So we're going to talk about different ways to help open up those hips. So yoga blocks are great to bring the earth up to you when needed. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that. If you don't have yoga blocks, totally okay. You can use a book, thick magazines. The magazines can get a little slippery. I'm thinking, what I'm thinking right now is those Sears catalogs and JCPenney catalogs from like the 80s. Nobody has those anymore. Well, I think maybe you have one laying around. I don't know. But I feel like the magazines can get a little bit slippery. So you want something supportive. So if you're going to use a book, hardcover book, you could even use like a good sturdy box if you had something like that as well. Okay. Comfortable clothes. So anything that you can move in. So I have a friend, she's always like, you always wear tight clothes. Well, the reason is I do yoga every single day and I don't like clothes getting in the way of my movement. I do yoga every single day. I work out almost every single day. And if I'm not working out, I'm probably hiking or walking or doing something. I'm a very active person. I don't like clothes getting in my way. Okay. That's my personal preference. All right. That said, you wear what's comfortable for you. So if you're going to go to a yoga studio, I've had people say to me, I want to go do I went to a retreat once, and we were going to do yoga at this retreat. And there were so many women that were freaking out. This was, 2012, 2013. There were so many women that were freaking out. Like we had a little Facebook group to like connect with each other before we went on this retreat. And there was like women freaking out that they didn't have Lululemon clothes to wear. And that's fine. It's an industry. Yoga clothes, athleisure, athletic wear is an industry. I love it. Okay. I love all the yoga clothes. I love all the athleisure, the gym clothes, the fun outfits. I love it all. It's not necessary. 100% not necessary. Okay. You wear what's comfortable for you. And what I will say is if you're going to go to a yoga studio, you're going to do this in public, just for your own comfort, maybe try some of these poses at home in the clothes that you think you might want to wear. Sometimes, like the way I'm sitting right now, sometimes I've worn skirts. I wasn't really like necessarily paying attention to what I was wearing. And I've worn skirts to a yoga class before, and you sit like this. And of course there's skirts, you're covered up, but it just feels weird, I guess. I don't know. Just, try some of these things out at home. And see what you feel comfortable in. What you don't want is something that is so tight and constricting that you can't twist, you can't reach, you can't, you want to be able to move your arms freely. You want to be able to twist your body if you have that movement available. I know some people have some spinal issues and can't necessarily do the rotation, but you just want to be able to move. All right. Okay. So it might be what you wear to the gym. It might be what you wear to jujitsu or what you wear hiking or whatever. Just make sure that you're comfortable. That's the important thing. Don't feel like you have to go buy an $150 aloe set. I have them. Bombshell sportswear. I love it. I mean, it's me. But it's certainly not necessary. And then make sure to have water nearby. You want to stay hydrated. Yoga, you're going to start moving. It's like any kind of movement. You're moving your body. You're getting things moving around. You want to make sure that you have water nearby. I will say that I can think of one yoga class off the top of my head. I've lived in 3 different parts of the country in the US. And so I've been to different yoga studios in each of the cities that I've lived in. But then even when I'm traveling, I always try to go to a yoga studio. So I've been to a lot of yoga studios in my time. And I will say there was one time in the 16 years that I've been practicing yoga where the teacher got on us about drinking water in class. And she was like telling us that we needed to be more disciplined, that we need to be able to get through a yoga class without water. That is not my philosophy. And first of all, I live in Phoenix. Everybody's dehydrated. Like, drink your water. And second of all, like, if you're thirsty, drink your water. I think the issue is that this you see this working out at the gym, whatever it might be. Sometimes people need a break. People need a rest. And so rather than just standing there taking a rest, they drink water to sort of make it look like they're doing something. Okay. That's my personal opinion. Bring water. It's fine. Okay. So a few things that are worth knowing here. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit or zoom in so I can read it. Still need my glasses though, I think. So it's the first thing here. A few things worth knowing. Flexibility is not a requirement. You don't have to be flexible to do yoga. Yoga is how you get more flexible, more stable, more mobile, and stronger. Okay. If you're somebody who you're like me, you do a lot of weightlifting. I do a lot of weightlifting. I lift 4 to 5 days a week. Sometimes 3, just depending if it's a busy week, but mostly 4 to 5 days a week I lift. And lifting weights shortens your muscles. So as a result, just by nature, if you do any sort of resistance training, weight training, your muscles are going to be tight. They're going to be like, oh, I need to lengthen them a little bit here. Okay. So, yoga is a way that a lot of people will build flexibility and that mobility, which is more that active range of motion. Okay. So, don't feel like you need to be flexible in order to do yoga. That's why this is called, it's for Inflexible Active Adults Over the age of 40. Okay, this is for those of you who are like, I'm not flexible though, Heather. I can't do this. I'm not flexible. Yes, you can. Okay, that's why we have yoga blocks. One of the things that I didn't bring up was a yoga strap. Okay, a yoga strap is also a really nice tool prop to have. because a yoga strap can lengthen your arms. So if you're doing stuff with your arms behind you, and this is where if you're a weightlifter, if you sit at a desk, if you sit at an airplane, or if you sit in a truck all day or something, you kind of get this forward hunch, right? And so in yoga, we'll do stuff to open up your chest. Okay, so to expand your chest by bringing your palms back behind you. You do this for a length of time. You can interlace your fingers behind you, right? But until then, you can use a strap. You're like, oh, this is tight, right? You can use a strap. You can see here, I don't have my hands together. All right. So straps are a great way to lengthen your arms, especially when you're reaching back behind you and you're like, and it allows you to come into some more restorative type poses too, where you're using, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but you're using more, you're coming into more restorative poses where it's not an active pose. You're not actively holding the pose. Gravity's kind of doing some of the work for you. Okay. So flexibility is not a requirement. That's why you have blocks. That's why you have a strap. All right. Here. Modifications are not cheating. I don't even like to use the word modification. I like to use the word options. All right. Every pose has options. Using blocks, bending your knees, or skipping a pose altogether is just that's the smart way to do this. It's not a failure on your part. I am currently dealing with an injury. My right foot is injured, and I do go to yoga at a yoga studio. And there are some things that I can't do with my toes bent. I just can't do them right now. My foot's injured. Okay. So I just make simple modifications, and something like toe stand, where you're standing on your tippy toes, like that's the pose. I just don't do it. I take the time and go do something else. Okay. That's just part of yoga, is honoring where your body is, where it is today in this exact moment, and doing the things that you can do and celebrating that. Okay. So every pose has options. Every single pose has options. I do have some tutorials here on YouTube. I'm continuing to build those tutorials out. If you go down to the back, the bottom page here, again on the, let's see, it's page 8. If you go, I've got under helpful links and resources, I've got a yoga pose library. So on YouTube, I do have a playlist where I've got yoga pose tutorials. Again, I'm starting to really build this out. But if you go to yogabyheather.com/pages/library, or just click that link, you can go there. I've got graphics for some of the more basic, I shouldn't say basic, foundational yoga poses. These are poses that you're going to see a lot. Okay. That's what makes them foundational. They're just sort of like, they're in a lot of the yoga classes that you're going to go to. Okay. There's a graphic there, and those that already have a pose tutorial on YouTube, I've got a link to it, and I'm just going to keep adding that. All right. So keep checking back there. Okay. So there's options. I have a gajillion injuries that I've been dealing with. I turned 49 in less than 2 weeks. If you're at a point in life where it's like, you know what, I do stuff, by doing stuff, so you get injured. Okay. That's just part of it. Right. I feel like I have figured out a lot of different ways to modify or provide options for yoga poses. Okay. So if you're in that bank, in that group right there, like this whole thing, this whole channel is for you. All right. Cause that's what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people to figure out how this works in your body. Okay. Falling out is part of it. Balance poses are wobbly for everyone at first. Fall out, get back in. That's the practice. And this is also something that when you're doing balancing poses, you're going to have days where it's like, I'm on it. This is good. And then you're going to have days where it's like, why can't I hold this pose? I've been practicing yoga for 16 years. And I have days where I'm like, I just can't seem to get my shit together to do this pose, right? So just understand that's part of it. And the wall is an option, all right? Same thing. I've been to a couple of yoga classes in my time where the instructor just was like, stay away from the wall. We're not doing the wall here today. That's not my viewpoint. My viewpoint is the wall is there. Use it as a prop. Use it to help you do the pose. All right. So Falling out is part of yoga. That's just part of it. Okay. Tight is normal. Sharp pain is not. So those of you that are already actively working out, you're actively training, you're actively doing the thing, you probably get that. You probably understand that. But here's your reminder that tight is normal, sharp pain is not. So we're going to talk about finding your edge here in a little bit. And it's paying attention to, does this hurt? Should I really be doing this right now? And part of yoga then is coming back to that and saying, no, I probably shouldn't be doing this right now. It's stepping out of your own ego. You're in a class, there's 15 other people in there. You want to be like, look what I can do. It's setting that ego aside and being like, today, not happening. Okay. So, sharp pain is not normal. You should feel a stretch. You should not feel any sort of sharp shooting or joint pain. Back off if you do. Honor that. Check your ego. Okay. Consistency beats intensity. This is true of any kind of training, weightlifting, hiking, rock climbing, high rocks training, CrossFit, name your thing. Consistency beats intensity. 5 short sessions beats 1 perfect session. Okay. Show up imperfectly every day and it compounds. So, if you're training, you're working out, you're doing all the stuff like, and I say this frequently in my videos that what you don't want to do is like Monday, go big, go home. You're going so hard that you're so sore for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, a week, and you don't go back to the gym for 2 weeks because you're like, I'm so freaking sore, right? Like that's same mindset applies here to yoga. You might think like you're not going to get sore, but many times you will. Like you're going to be using muscles and ligaments and tendons and things that maybe you haven't used in the way that you might use them in your yoga practice. Okay. So, but also understanding that yoga is a way of life. So it's being consistent and mindful about it. I've had days where sometimes my yoga practice is just going and sitting in my backyard and sitting there and just enjoying. Okay. That's yoga too. All right. So, and the last thing here is your body is not the problem. All right. So when you are attempting to do some of these yoga poses and I want you to pay attention to you saying to yourself, I can't do this. I can't do this pose. I can't do that pose. Heather, the way you're doing it, I can't. Like pay attention to that in your head. Okay. Yoga was not built for one body type. Okay. Yoga was not built for one body type. Your body is different from my body is different from the person that's sitting next to you. All right. What yoga is here is getting some sort of guidance from an instructor on how to do a pose and then finding what that's going to look like in your body. What are the different options that is going to help you access that pose? Do you need to use blocks? Do you need to bend your knee? Do you need to use straps? Do you need to sit on a blanket? Do you need to name your thing? And this is why going to a class or even doing private sessions can really help because an instructor can see what you're doing and then offer up different suggestions. All right. So this series is built for bodies that train hard and move real. So like you're on it. You're like, I'm doing the workouts. I'm doing the things. I want to add yoga in. And I mean, that's a real situation here where like you're tight, you're squished up like this, right? And it's like, let's open this up a little bit here. Okay. So when you're doing something and you pay attention, I want you to pay attention to this. I can't. Or even, this is something I'm working on too. I have 2 bad knees, right? I don't want to keep putting that energy out into the universe. All right. I have knees that have had some issues in the past, but they're still here and they support me. They do their thing. They do what they're supposed to do, right? But I also know that I have different ways that I do some poses because of these, all right? Because of my knees. But what I don't want to keep saying to myself is I have bad knees. I have bad knees. It's like putting bad energy, bad juju out into the universe, right? So just remember, like, I think I saw a reel or something like this on Instagram this morning, and it was, the sounds that your body makes in the morning, like the snap, crackle, pop that your body makes in the morning. It's just a reminder you're still here. Okay. It's just a reminder you're still here. You're still alive. You're still kicking. You're still doing the thing. All right. Just your body's little alarm clock, right? Okay. So let's get started here. So let's talk about mat setup and prop use. Okay. So mat setup. So when you go to a yoga class, like I said, you will either bring your own mat or you can use a mat that they have there. All right. At a gym, it might be some sort of like exercise mat. They might be a little bit more cushiony, might be a little bit more stretchy. A true yoga mat like isn't necessarily going to stretch like exercise mats kind of stretch out. Okay. If you're like, I'm just going to go buy a yoga mat, what you can do is just go to Target, Walmart, whatever. You can buy a yoga mat there if you would like. Or you can get something a little bit fancier online. What I suggest though is like do a little bit of research. If you're going to spend $100 plus on a yoga mat, do a little bit of research because they're $100 plus for a reason. And you want to understand what that reason is. Like this one was over $100. I also have another one that was closer to $200, but that's because I do a lot of hot yoga. So there's different reasons for why you want to spend money on something. If you're like brand spanking new here, just go to a class. Okay. So when you get into a yoga studio, this has really been popular since COVID was that there'll be like dots, there'll be electrical tape, there'll be a star, there'll be something on the floor to sort of show people where to set up their mats. Okay. And you can kind of look around the room and just see how people are setting up. And you can set up your mat by one of those dots. Okay. And that really became a thing after COVID because of whatever it was, I forget, social distancing, whatever. But then also a lot of studios started doing this, like you had to pre-book and then they were doing I've been to some where like they're doing assigned spot. So when you book, you even book your spot. Okay. So it's a way to do that. So you might go to some where it's like, it's just a room and you set up. Okay. So you're just going to set out your mat. And if it's a full class, you might be asked to move your mat just a little bit to squeeze more people in. If there's space, the instructor will probably tell you like there's space, just spread out. You've got space. Okay. So you're going to just set up your mat. You can, if you have a mat, you want to make sure that you have something to wash it. Tea tree oil works really well. You can get yoga mat wash. If you go to a studio, they'll probably have something there you can wipe your mat down with at the end as well. And then prop use. So if you go to a yoga studio, they will have the props that you're going to use. I can say confidently that I don't think I've ever been to a yoga class where they have said, like, you need to bring your own blocks or something like this. I honestly can't think of it. That being said, like, don't come at me in the comments and be like, like I did that, right? But if the instructor is going to use blocks or a strap or something like that, oftentimes they will provide them for you. And if you're going to like an outdoor yoga in the park or something like that, he or she, the instructor, is probably set up the class so much so that like you probably just don't need blocks. They're going to be more accessible poses. You probably don't need blocks or straps. Okay. So if you go to a studio, first time there, they'll probably show you, usually they'll show you where stuff is, where to get the blocks, where to get the straps. The instructor will oftentimes let you know, like this class, we're going to use blocks today. We're going to use straps today. My viewpoint is I almost always use blocks. I almost always use them. I just grab them. Even if the instructor tells me that doesn't say that we need them, I always just grab them. I use blocks. I use them a lot. So mat setup, prop use, again, blocks are going to bring the ground up to you. You're going to see this a little bit more as we get into some of these poses and pose tutorials. The blocks are going to bring the ground up to you. The strap is going to extend your arms. Just kind of remember that when you're trying to think about, well, how am I going to use this today? All right. What to wear. We talked a little bit about that. Again, you just want to be comfortable. You can go to shop.yogabyheather.com. I have an LTK and I never really viewed myself as a like fashion person or whatever. But apparently I am because I do like I like the gym clothes. I like the yoga clothes. So if you go to shop.yogabyheather.com, I got a link to the LTK in there too. If you want to check out that, I always get asked where I get my outfits. So it's there. Types of yoga. So, there's a lot of different types of yoga. I mean, you're going to see things like there's like gentle yoga, there's puppy yoga, there's goat yoga, there's paddleboard yoga, there's weightlifting in yoga, there's this and like name your thing and yoga. There's a lot of different stuff. Okay. It's not what we're talking about here today. What we're talking about is like, you're going to go to a gym, you're going to go to a yoga studio and probably take a gentle flow, slow flow, type class. The word flow is probably in the class. Okay. There's also power flow, which is the same type of yoga, maybe a little bit more faster paced. Okay. Maybe some more strength type movements. All right. But that's what we're talking about here is it's called vinyasa flow. And that essentially means that you're moving through a flow of poses, a sequence of poses, and we link that breath to movement. So you inhale as you move, exhale as you move, inhale as you move, exhale as you move, okay? So you might see that term vinyasa, you might see the term flow, all right? That's what we're talking about here today. There's other types of yoga, restorative yoga, yin yoga. Those are oftentimes ones that you will see at gyms. Restorative yoga, 10 to 15 minutes, you get into a pose, you use blankets, you use blocks, you use bolsters, you use props. Bolster I didn't talk about. Wheel I didn't talk about yet. We're going to get there though, okay? But you might have, you come into a pose and you're going to use all these blocks, props, blankets, all this stuff to sort of like prop your body up into a pose, okay? Yin yoga is very similar to restorative yoga. The room is just a little bit different. Like you're doing this, you do yin yoga in a, it's the same poses oftentimes as restorative yoga. You come into a pose, you hold it, but you don't necessarily warm up your body. So you get a little bit more into the ligaments and the tendons of your body. Okay. So yeah, there's just all sorts of different types of yoga out there. If you're uncertain, just go look at the description. So maybe you found a yoga studio that's next to you, that's like in your neighborhood. You want to check it out, or it's at your gym, it's at your jiu-jitsu gym, your climbing gym, whatever. Check it out. Like read the description to see what kind of yoga it is. Vinyasa flow yoga is a very popular style of yoga in the United States. So I'm sure that you will find something similar to that. Or like the gentle yoga, which is you're still going to be moving through a sequence of poses, but it's going to be much slower. You might come into a pose and hold it for 2 minutes or so, versus like the vinyasa flow is more like breath, move, breath, move, breath, move. Okay. What to expect in a yoga studio. So every yoga studio is different. Some yoga studios are very welcoming. You walk in the front door, your name's on a board somewhere. Hello, hi, how are you? My name is so-and-so. Welcome to our studio. They show you around. They make you feel welcome. Okay. I've been to other yoga studios where it's like you walk in the door and it's not that. We'll just say it's not that. Sometimes it's just more like sometimes the teacher, the person that's teaching the class, is handling everything. Some yoga studios will have a dedicated person at like the check-in desk. The ones where it's like the yoga teacher's trying to handle absolutely everything, you might not get a greeting when you walk in the door because the yoga teacher is off doing something else because they're busy doing their thing. Okay. Sometimes it's just the culture of the yoga studio that it's just different. We walk in and it's just really more just like find your thing and do your thing and go on and leave and go home. Okay. I've been to yoga studios like that too. That's great for people like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to come here, do yoga and leave. Okay. That's fine too. All right. So when you go to a yoga studio, you're brand new. You need a yoga mat. You can ask for the yoga mat. The instructor is going to show you where to put your mat. And then what you'll do is you can just sit on your mat, just like how I am right now. You can lie down on your back, and just get settled in. You've got the four corners of your mat, right? Okay. You just get settled in. Just kind of take it all in. Sometimes I'll go to yoga 10 minutes early because I want that 10 minutes to just lay there, enjoy it. Right. Just take some time, decompress, get settled in. Just kind of finish up everything that was going on before you walked in your mind. Just kind of get settled in, okay? And then the instructor will start you through the class. We're not going to get into the class until session 5, okay? Common yoga terms decoded. We're going to go down to the last page here. And we're going to talk about some of these terms. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly here because you're going to just, sometimes vocabulary and learning words is like, you just need to hear it, okay? So asana is a yoga posture or pose. So when we talk about different yoga poses, yoga postures, that's asana, okay? Vinyasa, we talked about that. That is moving with your breath. That's what we're talking about here today. Breath, movement, breath, movement. I'm going to guide you through all of that, okay? Flow is a sequence of poses linked together. So breath, movement, you're doing the flow, you're doing the thing, sequence of poses, okay? Namaste is a respectful greeting, often used at the end of class. It's, in traditional Hindi, it's used as a greeting. In the West, we oftentimes use it as a way to close out a yoga session, okay? Your drishti is your gaze or your focal point. This is really important when it comes to balancing poses. If you're trying to balance on one foot and you're looking all around, like you're going to be wobbling all over the place. So you focus your gaze, you focus your drishti, okay? Pranayama is breath work. We're going to talk a little bit about some breathing techniques throughout these sessions here. Ujjayi breath is a slow and controlled breathing through the nose that creates a soft ocean sound. So you will hear that frequently. You go to a yoga class, the teacher is going to guide you through some breath work. We're going to talk about breath work here in a second, but the teacher's going to guide you through some breath work, and he or she might say, create the sound of ocean waves. And you're like, what the fun is that? Like, how am I doing that? Okay, so I'm going to talk you through that here in a second. Core engagement, gently tightening your midsection for support and stability. Some of these poses really do a lot of work in your core. So the instructor will cue you through like things like engaging your core, bringing your ribs down towards your pelvis. You might hear like zipper it up, like you're trying to get into a pair of skinny jeans. So engaging your core. Neutral spine is maintaining the natural curve of your spine. In yoga, we do a lot of rotation in your spine. We do a lot of flexion and extension, and we do a lot of bending as well. Okay, so do rotation, flexion, extension, and then bending. Okay, so neutral spine is neutral. Okay, modifications / options. I like to use the word options. I think it just works better with some of us. Our type A personalities, we want to do it right. But we want to do it right for your body. Okay. Props. We talked about props. We're going to talk a little bit more about bolsters and the wheel. Chair yoga is a whole different thing. We're not even getting into that today, but it's something that's out there as a tool. Again, your wall's a prop as well. Finding your edge, working at a level that feels challenging, but not painful. So again, this should be not sharp, not joint pain. Okay. Finding your edge is you are in a pose, you hinge forward, and you just feel it. You're like, oh, that's the spot right there. I'm going to hold that. Okay. Versus like, I need to get my forehead down to the mat, and I'm going to do it at all costs. No, we're setting that ego aside. Okay. Mobility is your ability to move with control through range of motion. So you can actively move your range of motion. Okay. So you can actively move your hip joint, whatever your joint is that strength that you have to move that joint. Flexibility is going to be your muscle length and stretch capabilities. So if I reach, can I reach for my toes or not? It's fine, but it's just measuring. That's sort of a measurement for flexibility. Okay. Alignment is positioning your body for support and efficiency. The last one here is stack your joints. You'll sometimes hear that as well, but like you'll come into poses and you want joints stacked. We don't want to injure yourself. Okay. So like right here, if I'm in a tabletop position, we'll go over this a little bit, but notice how my shoulders are not stacked over my wrists. You want them aligned. You want them stacked. Okay. So that's really going to help with some of these poses. Some of these poses do require a lot of arm strength, leg strength, core strength, but some of these poses, if you get the right alignment in your joints, it makes it much easier to come into the pose. Hips width distance. So you'll hear this cue quite a bit in a yoga class, is that your feet are hips width distance apart, okay? That is not this. That is not this. It's the hip joint itself, not the extra cushioning that we have on our hips, okay? It's the hip joint itself that your feet come underneath your hips. Okay, so when we say feet are hips width distance apart, you can also take two fists and place them in between your feet. That'll give you a guide as well for hips width distance. Fold from the hips. This is like doing a deadlift versus a squat. So you're hinging forward. It's a hinge versus a squat down. Okay. So when you fold forward from the hips, you're hinging forward. Okay. Not rounding your back or anything. And it's not a squat down. It's a hinging motion. All right. So you'll hear that frequently. Root down, press firmly into the floor for stability. You'll hear, I don't say this very much. I say ground down more, but you'll hear instructors say something like root down or root to rise. And you're the first time in a yoga class and you're like, what is that? I have no freaking clue what root to rise means. Okay. This is where sometimes the language can get a little flowery. So that's what we're talking about here. So root to rise is you're grounding down. You press down into your feet. I mean, not physically like I just did, but you're feeling strong. You're feeling stable. All right. You're not just kind of doing a thing. It's like you feel strong. You feel stable. Okay. So if you're in a forward fold like this, notice how my knees are bent. That's okay. That's what we're doing here. Okay. You're in a forward fold, root to rise. Root means your feet are planted firmly into the ground. We're not like placing all the body weight on my hands. All my body weight's not on my heels. It's, the four corners of my feet are pretty stable. That's root down and then rise up. Okay. Whatever pose the instructor has you coming in next. You'll hear root down. You'll hear root to rise. Lengthen the spine. How do I make my spine longer, Heather? Right? You're going to hear it. I say it. Spine is long. I say that frequently. You're sitting in a position, doesn't matter, sitting, standing, spine is long. That is a reminder of your posture, okay? That is a reminder of your posture. So if I'm in a seated position, notice how my back's rounded. And if I say to you, Heather, spine is long, you'll breathe in and lengthen your spine. So essentially what you're doing is working towards creating space between the individual vertebrae of your spine, reaching the crown of your head up towards the sky. Okay, so it's a reminder of your posture. Your gaze is forward, your chin's not down, you're not like this. Your gaze is nice and forward. So back of your neck is flat. Okay, so that's lengthen your spine. Stack your joints, we talked about that. That's along with alignment. I don't say stack your joints all that much, but you will probably hear others say that. And it's just, some of these words, some of these things are just, what is the individual instructor's style like that you go to? And you're going to find, like, I would encourage you to go try out 10 different yoga classes. Because what I don't want you to do is try one and then you're like, this isn't for me. I'll say I did CrossFit once. I'm a weightlifter. I lift weights for 30 years now. Over 30 years. Gosh. I went to CrossFit once and I had no idea. What was going on. I don't remember where I was going with that. I know what it was. Yeah, I want you to go to 10 different yoga classes and I don't want you to write it off because you went to one class, you didn't like it, which is what I did with CrossFit. I went to one CrossFit and the only reason was because that's the only CrossFit studio by me, or CrossFit box, whatever, by me. And it just, like, I wasn't feeling very welcome there. So my suggestion to you, and I always try to remember that feeling I had that day when people are coming to my yoga classes. So we talked about the common yoga terms, some breathing basics. So pranayama is the breath. So if you hear that term pranayama, that's the breath. You're going to go to some yoga classes, they will use a lot of Sanskrit. You're going to go to some yoga classes, they're going to use no Sanskrit. It just depends. Okay. I used to be the person I want yoga classes in Sanskrit all the time. Now I'm like, it's fine. It's my practice. I know the words. I'm good with it. Right. The pranayama is the breathing basics. You have dirga breath. I have a tutorial on YouTube on how to do dirga breath. I'm going to add some more tutorials on different types of breath work. But dirga breath is your spine is long. Okay. Sitting, standing, wherever. Spine is long. You breathe in through your nose. Okay. So you breathe in through your nose. You expand your belly, let it out. This is not the time to be I'm taking a picture, I'm sucking in my belly. It's not what we're doing here. You're really filling it out, filling your belly, filling your ribs, lifting your chest. You're filling everything up. All right. So think about the last time you took a breath like that. When was the last time you took a breath? Honestly, I always tell people, I used to smoke cigarettes. People are like, Heather, how did you used to smoke cigarettes? Well, I did. This year will be 20 years since I quit. But I always say, I think part of smoking cigarettes that relaxes people is that you're actually taking in a deep breath. I mean, you're breathing in toxins, but you're taking in a deep breath. When was the last time you just really breathed in? So much so that your belly is out here. Okay. So you're going to breathe in, exhale, sigh it out. It's an audible sigh. You're going to hear it. You're going to go to a yoga class and you're going to hear other people sounding like Darth Vader. That is okay. You do it as loud or as quiet as you want. Whatever you're comfortable with. It's a forceful out. When was the last time you had a breath like that? When was the last time you took a breath like that? That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So that's a dirga. The instructor will guide you through it. You don't have to remember how to do all of this. The instructor is going to guide you through it. He or she probably won't even say we're doing dirga breath. Okay. And then the ujjayi breath. That's another one that's really quite popular in yoga classes. This is a pranayama exercise that is intended to help build heat in your body. So if you are doing power yoga, if you are doing yoga sculpt, which is yoga and weights, if you're doing any kind of yoga that requires a lot of heat, a lot of energy, a lot of movement, you'll probably start with an ujjayi breath. Again, your instructor, he or she may or may not say it's ujjayi breath, but probably what you will hear more frequently is create the sound of ocean waves or fog up a mirror, you're fogging up a mirror. I don't know, what is this? I remember thinking this, what is this? Okay. So you've got ujjayi breath. So with the ujjayi breath, it's very similar to the dirga breath, but you close your mouth. Just gently press your lips together, okay? You have to press them together. It's just gently press them together, all right? And that kind of brings some awareness to how much stress tension you got in your jaw, all right? Just nice and loose, okay? And then you're going to breathe in through your nose. And then as you breathe out, you're going to leave your lips pressed together and you're creating this sound in the back of your throat. Okay, so you breathe in, and then when you breathe out, you're creating the sound of ocean waves in the back of your throat, or it's like you're trying to fog up a mirror where you're going to fog up a mirror, but with your lips shut. Okay, you're going to do it with your lips shut. All right, so deep breath in, fog up that mirror. Mm-hmm. Your instructor is going to walk you through that. All right, so when you hear that, create the sound of ocean waves or fog up the mirror. It's like you're trying to fog up the mirror, but with your lips shut. Okay. Those are some breathing basics. And then just a reminder, modifications are always an option. Option is a better word because many of you are type A. And you want to do it right. You want to do it good. Okay. Now I want to go over a couple of different yoga poses that you're going to see. These are not going to be some full tutorials, but I am building out a full library on YouTube with more detailed information on how to do these poses. I've also got some of the Sanskrit there. Some yoga classes, you're going to hear more Sanskrit than others. And like I said, some of them, you're not going to hear anything at all. So easy seat is what I was just in, Sukhasana. All right, easy seat. So I have a tutorial on YouTube that it's yoga, but you can't sit with your legs crossed. So how do you do it, right? So easy seat, you might be right here. This is where you are. Maybe your hips are tight. you've got an injury, whatever it might be, you can use blocks. Blocks can bring the earth up to you. All right. This is why I really suggest getting more stable blocks than the flimsy, squishy ones. Okay. Because they're actually going to do what you need them to do. Okay. The bolster is another great prop that you can use as well. It doesn't need to be a bolster. It can be a cushion, a pillow. If you go to a yoga studio, they'll probably have bolsters. But you can sit on it like I showed you earlier with the block, or the blanket. You can sit on that, just a little bit more cushiony. It allows your knees, to drop open just a little bit more. It opens up your hips a little bit more. So you might feel a little bit more openness, doing easy pose that way. You can also just sit with your legs in front of you. If you're like, my knee is jammed, like I'm not doing this today, you just sit with your legs in front of you. It's totally okay. Did you notice how I was sitting throughout the first part of this series? Like I'm sitting like this and then I'm sitting like this. It's because remember what I talked about with my knees? My knees don't like to be bent. Okay. So that's easy pose. Child's pose, balasana. Oftentimes people think child's pose is an easy pose. I will say there was a point in my life after recovering from an injury that child's pose was probably the hardest pose for me to do. I've got a video on YouTube, a couple videos on YouTube of how to use props to give you some different options on how to do child's pose. But what you can do is traditionally child's pose, you're going to bring your knees out to the outside of your mat. Your feet will come together back behind you. Then you'll shift your hips back towards your heels, reach your palms forward, and then drop your forehead down towards your mat. So this is like sort of your traditional child's pose. Okay. Now, a couple different things that you can do here. I had to do this for a really, really, really long time because I couldn't bend my knee. As I was recovering from said injury, actually it was the surgery from the injury. I couldn't bend my knee because my quad was so tight. All right. So it wasn't necessarily that my knee, it was just, I couldn't bend my knee because my quad muscle was so freaking tight. Okay. So lift your hips up. How can you lift your hips up? How do we bring the earth up to you? Bolster or block right here. You could also use your bolster. Okay. So I'm going to show you here. Block, reach palms forward, comes down. You could even do this even if you didn't have like knee issues or quad issues or whatever. It's just a different way to come into the pose. Another one that I really like as well is to take your bolster and place it between your glutes and your heels and then come forward into child's pose. All right. So a couple different options there for you. Cat-cow. Cat-cow is a warm-up series that you'll see quite frequently in yoga classes. So tabletop position is you're on all fours, just like this. Okay. Shoulder stacked over wrist, hip stacked over the knees. So sometimes it's easy to kind of put your hips back like this. I challenge you to pay attention to where your hips are if they're directly over your knees. Now, if your knees are screaming at you because this is too much pressure on your knees, one thing I have found is tucking your toes can lift up some of the pressure off of your knees. But like me right now, my right foot's injured. Okay. So it's like, I got a right foot injury. I got knees. Okay. So it's just exploring and finding what feels good for you here. All right. If you've got wrist issues, you can't bend your wrist. Like you're just like, again, pay attention to those words. I can't, right? It's just more like, I'm going to find a different way to do this. So you can make a fist and put your fist down into your mat. Sometimes also taking your blocks and placing them underneath the palms of your hands. Sometimes that can help alleviate some of the wrist pressure as well. Okay, so you can try that. So this is tabletop. So you'll start cat-cow from tabletop. And so when you're in cat-cow, you'll bring your chin down towards your chest and then press your hips forward, okay? So what do I look like right now? I look like a cat, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm pressing down into my mat. I call it your inner Chuck Norris. You're pressing the earth away, Okay. So your inner Chuck Norris, you press the earth away. You're pressing your hips forward towards you. You drop your chin down towards your chest so that your forehead, the crown of your head, the top of your head comes down towards your mat. That's going to be your cat. And then as you inhale, you'll lift your gaze. Remember your drishti. Lift your gaze, arch your back, send your hips up to the sky, still pressing down into your mat, just like Chuck Norris pressing the earth away. Okay, so you lift your gaze. Now we're in cow. Okay. Exhale, bring your chin to your chest, hips press forward. Inhale, gaze comes up. Exhale, chin to chest. So we're coming into cat. Inhale, gaze up, cow. All right. So that is a spinal warm-up movement that you'll see quite frequently in a lot of different yoga classes. So you start from that tabletop and then you'll do cat, cow. Sometimes you do cow, cat, whatever. Okay. Downward dog. Downward dog is a pose that you will see quite frequently in the vinyasa flow style classes. Slow flow, power flow, anything with flow in it. You're going to see downward facing dog. You'll see it in other classes too. If you take more of a gentle style class, you might have one downward dog, probably none. Okay. So you'll see that pose more frequently. So again, my right foot is injured. So I'm going to demonstrate here this just a little bit differently. You can see how I have figured out a different option for me. Okay. So from tabletop, what you'll do is you tuck your toes, lift your knees, and send them up and back into downward facing dog. Okay. So I'm not putting pressure on my right foot right now. Okay. So downward facing dog. Sometimes people think the goal here is to have nice straight legs and be in this nice inverted V. That is not the goal here. Downward facing dog is actually an inversion, which means that my heart is above my head. Okay. So it's a spinal decompression pose that creates that space between the individual vertebrae of your spine. Okay. So gravity is essentially decompressing your spine for you. All right. So with your head lower than your heart, you allow your forehead, allow the crown of your head, the top of your head to reach down towards the earth. Bend your knees a little, a lot, whatever you need to do. Okay. So you'll come into downward facing dog, bend your knees, whatever you need to do, press down into the palms of your hands. And this is where you can just spend a little bit of time, shake your head, yes, no. You might even press your heel down towards your mat. Notice how my heels don't touch. I actually have a video on YouTube about your heels not touching in downward facing dog. I've been practicing yoga for 16 years. My heels still don't touch the mat. Back of my legs are tight. It's just part of it. They're tight. Not a big deal. You just send the energy that direction. Okay. So that's downward facing dog. And then mountain pose. Mountain pose is a pose that you'll see frequently. It's standing. We have to give it a name. So your feet are hips width distance apart. Remember, we talked about that. Underneath your hip bones, use your wrists to help you figure out what that looks like for you. Okay. Now, mountain pose, your feet are hips width distance apart. Sometimes the instructor will cue, and I do this sometimes as well, is to bring your feet together underneath you. Okay. This is a little bit more challenging because I'm going to go down in a second. This can be a little bit more of a challenging pose for balance. Okay. So for Tadasana or mountain pose, your palms come down towards your sides. This is an active pose. Your hands aren't just dangling here. You're reaching the palms of your hands down towards the earth. Okay. So notice how my shoulder blades come down. My shoulders come down. It's because I'm pressing the palms of my hands down towards the earth. You can also open your palms forward. Okay. This gives a little bit more chest expansion, shoulder rotation to open up on the front side of your body. Okay. Now, this is where things can get a little challenging. You can close your eyes right here. Okay. So your instructor might say, close your eyes or soften your gaze, soften your drishti. That's that. All right. So that's what makes this a little bit more challenging. Feet are hips width distance apart. And you might close your eyes here. You want a little bit more of a challenge? Bring your feet together and close your eyes. Okay. Don't have to do it. You can stand right here, just like this. Smile and look at yourself in the mirror if there's a mirror. Okay. All right. So that's mountain pose. So those are some of the foundational poses that you will probably see in the beginning of a yoga class. In the next sessions, we're going to go over a little bit more of like some of the questions that you might have about a yoga class. We're going to go over some more of the poses. In the next session, what we're going to do is we're going to go over a couple of the warrior poses. All right, so we're going to go over warrior 1, warrior 2, and reverse warrior. There's also warrior 3, but we're going to go over that when we go over some of the balancing poses, okay? So if you've heard of like warrior poses and this and that before, that's what we're going to go over in session 2. If you're like, I don't know what that is, Heather, that's okay. I'm going to explain all of it. So that's what we're going to go over in the next session, in session number 2. That's here on YouTube. If you're watching this in June of 2026, I'm releasing these one per week. There's 5 Mondays in June, so these are getting released on Mondays. And so make sure to come back, watch those videos. I've got a playlist here set up on YouTube as well. And go to inflexible.yogabyheather.com and grab yourself this nice handout here. Okay, look at this picture here. Look at this. Yoga Foundation. Oh, it switched it. Yoga Foundations for Inflexible Active Adults 40 plus. All right. So go ahead, download it. I've got that guide there for you. I've got links to different resources. Those links are constantly being updated. I'm always updating my resources, my library, all that good stuff. Okay. So stay tuned for session 2. We're going to go over the warrior series, warrior poses. A little bit more of some of the questions that you might be having. If you do have questions, go ahead and post those in the comments below. They may be answered in a session that is later on in this series. If it's not addressed, if it's outside of the scope of what I've defined for this series, I can certainly answer the question there too. So let me know. Let me know where you're thinking here, and let me know if you found this helpful. Like I said, I really just wanted to put this together as a series for those of you that are like, I think I want to add yoga into my fitness routine, my wellness routine. Not sure where to get started. Maybe you tried a yoga class, didn't feel welcome, or you felt like I have no clue what's going on. I'm hoping to answer those questions for you here. So if you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, send this to somebody who you think might find it helpful. And I'll see you in session number 2.